Hi, Laura. Lovely meeting
Hi.
you. Uh,
Same.
how's it going? How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very happy that the film is going out in UK, so I'm doing some interviews with great joy.
No, thank you so much for your time, first of all. I just wanted to say, when I watched the trailer a few months ago, and without knowing that I was gonna watch it and then review it afterwards, so I was super intrigued about this film, and obviously it looked great, the trailer. But what kind of stuck with me was the title of the film. Jane Austen wrecked my life, and I was like, I have to watch it. And then I had this opportunity, and after I watched it, I was like, why Jane Austen wrecked my life? It kind of sounds like she made it a little better for our protagonist. So why did you go with this title?
So this title is obviously ironic, but I think this title comes from, the different layers I've been working with when I started to write the film. I started to think about the bookshop as a starting point because it was very personal. I worked there for many years. And then I started to think about a woman, a character that could contains who I was at this time, but also all the people I worked with that were important for me, that were dreamers, aspiring writers, musicians, actors, whatever, and who were sharing with me this feeling of like not fitting really with the world we were living in, being a little bit misplaced, if I can say. And then I thought, okay, so this woman, she dreams to be a writer, she dreams to have love story, but she never managed to do anything really. Who could she blame for that? And then came Jane Austen. Because I do feel that obviously I don't think that a writer can wreck anyone's life, but I do feel that Jane Austen, not only in England, like everywhere in the world, is celebrated, but she also sets a very high standard in terms of romantic ideals, for the good, I think. But as any ideals, it's also difficult to face reality with this kind of ideals. So that's why the title.
That's very interesting, but to be honest, it's true. She sets such a high standards,
Yeah,
and especially nowadays, it looks like we're very far away from those ideals.
yeah,
So that's also that could explain why Jane Austen is still so relevant today, as she was. Yeah.
most probably.
Um,
One of the reason, at least, because they are so it's a bit mystery. It's true, it's fascinating why. I mean, we only it's very personal, and each person you ask, why Jane Austen, why do you think Jane Austen is still, I think it's the humor, also the intelligence and the humor, definitely.
Yes, 100%. And so, as you said, Agathe works at the famous Shakespeare Co. Library in Paris, and you work there as well. So, is it right to say that there's little bit of you in Agathe, or like, is there a bit of Agathe in you, maybe?
Yes. Oh, I think there is a lot of Agathe in me and me in Agathe, but there is also a lot of me in the other characters. It's weird, when you write fiction, you write about fictional characters that contains you and the people you love and the people you met and so many things that it's even hard. I'm not pretending to not remember, but it's quite hard to know, who are they made these characters. But it's definitely something that was very intimate for me to talk about my relation. I wanted to talk about my relationship to writing because it's purely comedy. Writing is such a intense, difficult, absurd process, different for everyone, but uh, mostly dramatic. So it becomes so dramatic that it's comic, of course, I wanted to talk about my love for literature and the grieving process also I've been through when I started to write. And I was dreaming to do a rom-com because I made this film because I was missing art house independent rom-coms. Um, they were not made anymore. At least in France, I was not seeing anything. They became, very marketed products for the platforms, which is okay. Like you need to have everything for everyone. But for some reason, independent cinema looked down on rom-coms for a long time, and it drives me crazy because it's like it's actually the same thing that when you can hear about Jane Austen sometimes, as it's a girly genre, um, while it's the opposite, it's a political genre. Rom-coms are political because when you talk about love, when you talk about desire, when you talk about the other as a chance, as a potential chance, as opposed to a threat, especially right now, you're being very political, I think. So it's time for rom-coms directors to stand.
But why do you think this is the case? Why do you think rom-coms has always been a genre that has been looked at, down from, especially other sort of directors or like from an audience that think it's not like a genre as good as other ones, for example? Why do you think is that?
I think you can see probably that it's because of the same thing that we have with comedy, you know, that comedy is the hardest thing to do, and yet it's rarely with the Palme d'Or or because it's not supposed to be noble, while it's the hardest thing on earth to make. But I think it's maybe because they're rarely good. Also, it's very because it's so hard. They're rarely good, but it's also I don't know. There is a misunderstanding. I think what we need, especially nowadays, but whenever there was a crisis, there were a lot of comedy actually, because it's an antidote, it's a remedy, right? We need to, it's healing to laugh, and especially in a cinema and only not in front of your TV, to laugh with an audience around you. It's an experience to laugh with people around you. Sometimes I don't know for you, but I do remember laughing because people were laughing also. It's a very weird thing. Almost a collaboration
It's
to be.
contagious. Yeah.
Yes, it's contagious, absolutely. So I think it's gonna come back more and more, because I don't know for you, but I do find that it's possible to tell all kind of stories, and I love melodrama. I love, but I think we need consolation. We need something that tells us that it's gonna be okay at some point, because otherwise you just as an audience, I just don't want an exper I don't want to experiment despair in movies, and rom-coms are the opposite of that. It's full of hope.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Um, and talking about the film, is this is a modern rom-com with a little like a period drama twist here and there. So obviously there are lots of I noticed like hints to the Pride and Prejudice, for example, from the film from 2005, especially during the dancing scene, which I really enjoyed. How did you find in all this your Agathe? So why? How did you find her in Camille Rutherford?
So what was very important for me was to have like to tell the story of to tell the journey of a woman who is not looking only for love, who's mainly dreaming to be a writer. And so she would not be saved by a man, or not saved by love. She would save herself first, and then she can fall in love, And because it's about grieving, the underlayer, the core of what she's going through is really like the grief that she didn't face somehow. I What I was dreaming to do was to do a melancholic comedy, on the edge. And when I saw Camille Rutherford playing in a film, in a French film, she had a small part, but I felt I was very touched by actually the melancholy that she carries, the depth, the fact that she's timeless. She could be in a Mary Stuart, she could play Mary Stuart as she did, or very like random 2025 young woman. So I was really seduced by that, because that's what I wanted to do with this film, where sometimes you don't know where you are, in which time you see the characters, and she's also capable of slapstick and physical comedy, which is rare. We don't have your like incredible tradition of like actors who can dance and sing and do everything in France. So she comes from theater and she can pretty much do everything. So the choice was quite clear very, very early on.
You know, I remember, I think one of the first films I saw with her was a film called Felicita. Uh,
That's where I discovered her
yeah,
exactly.
and she was absolutely amazing. She stole the show. She was incredible. So yeah, and I agree. Yeah. But another thing about the film is that it offers a different, like an interesting take on love because Agathe is surrounded by people who bounce, you could say, from one lover to the other, like her best friend and her sister. But then on the other side, she meets Oliver, and he refuses all sorts of like human interactions before, until he meets Agathe. So can you tell us a bit more about this parallel? How did you, think of this, and what does it mean?
So I wanted to work on a love triangle because it's like old as the beginning of the probably the love stories, the first love stories, but it's also so interesting to work around these expectations from the audience, and the surprise and the little twist that you. So I wanted to build this triangle and have these two male characters as different as possible, so she would have a choice, a real choice to make. And I guess when I started to think about this love story, I wanted to give space for something that fascinates me, which is what happen when we fall in love with someone. There are the obvious things, and there are the invisible things. Sometimes I feel like, this like octopus and transparent octopus thing where you're in front of someone and something resonates in you from the story of some a total stranger, and there it is, and you don't know why. And I think when I started to think about their love story, I thought she lost her parents, and she's grieving, and he is losing his father every day in front of his eyes. So I think this could be something invisible that would make them, that would make them recognize each other somehow, the pain. He has a broken heart and she has a broken heart. And the whole film there is no message, but there is a poem at the end who is celebrating the fact that we have open heart. We all have a broken heart in a way or another. And instead of trying to hide it or fix it or whatever, we should just like open it even more. So I think I guess I hope I answer your question, but I guess that's how I approach the love story.
No, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your
That's it.
question.
And yes, no, thank you. And again, congratulations on the film. It was brilliant. I loved it.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy. Thank you for your
Thank
questions.
you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.